Hello and welcome to Baselworld 2018.
Yep, we just arrived here in Basel. We're hoping to bring you some exciting coverage of the new releases from Baselworld 2018.
Yeah, we've arrived a little bit late today, so what we're going to do is we're going to go straight to the hotel, going to get an early night in, and then we're going to go tomorrow. So we'll see you there.
This is actually what customers send watches after the Second World War to us to get them done again. And so we changed the way around. Our Unitas movement, what is on this big watches right now.
Really nice decoration. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Take some pictures. Okay, so we just got back from our first day at the show. I think it was a pretty successful day. We got to try out a lot of cool watches and some of the exciting new releases from Baselworld 2018.
Yeah, so now we're back in our hotel room. Me and Ben just wanted to sit down and go through some of the favourite watches we saw. Okay, so first brand of the day was Laco. So we got chatting to a guy there who's really passionate about the watches. And one of the big focuses this year is on the younger generation. So they've got a big focus and they've got a lot more affordable watches they're offering. I think one of the big things that I found is that they're really passionate about staying true to their heritage. Yeah. They've got such an interesting history that, you know, why wouldn't they want to sort of, you know, pay homage to it?
Yeah, I think it's good. They're really focused and in their direction of where they want to take the brand and what models they choose to put out. So we got to try on a few of the Erbstuck, which is the like force patinaed pilot's watch range. So I think they had it in the A and B type pilot's watches with the heavily patinaed new model, which looks just like one from
in the
50s or whatever.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. And then we also got to see one of their new dress watches, and he had a few samples of those, and he was showing us the final sample, which had a really nice fluted bezel, which was mixing with a rounded bezel, which you can really tell that even though it's a dress watch, they're kind of bringing in small little hints of pilot's watches throughout the different eras and just bringing it all in with the brand identity, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it really stands out as their watch, and you know, in a market full of dress watches, so you can tell that one's Laco.
Yeah.
Similarly, going back to the Erbstuck ones, so the patina on those, I think we've seen quite a lot of faux patina in the past, haven't we?
Yeah.
But the level of accuracy they get to looking so true and realistic was ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, it's not just faux patina; it's genuine patina. Really, they actually damaged the cases, and you know, the patinaing process is sped up through use of chemicals and stuff. But it is still genuine patina. It's not like it's just old radium loom, which looks like the color of aged loom.
Yeah.
They've actually quickly aged it, so to speak.
Yeah, so I think the offerings there, I think they offer something really special for the customer.
Yeah.
I think for a lot like us, you know, vintage watch fans, a part of vintage watches is, you know, sometimes they can be quite delicate. You never quite know what you're buying. But you've got that reassurance there. You know, you can get a brand new watch that looks really old and, you know, it's reliable as ever. So it's really, really cool releases this year.
Yeah, I think, and just from the uniqueness of where they are in the market doing that, because, you know, one of the big releases of Baselworld 2018 was the Longines military watch, which everyone is so shocked that it looks like an old watch when it's new. And, you know, that's an incredible watch, but if you think Laco's already been doing this for a few years, and it's, you know, maybe even executed better, and it's not really that much more expensive either.
No.
He said they're produced in very limited quantities. They take around 6 weeks to do the actual force patinaing thing. So for £2,000 or so, that's a really cool and different watch.
Yeah. Okay, so sticking with the pilot watch theme, I think we should talk about Breitling.
Yep, so we were pretty eager to check out the new Navitimer 8 collection, which was fresh from Baselworld 2018. I know that we were big fans of a few of those watches, especially the Navitimer 38mm. Honestly, when I saw it in the flesh, I really understood why, at first, before they retracted the statement that it was a lady's watch, because even though I'm used to wearing a 36mm watch, when I saw the 38mm, disregarding size, it does look quite feminine. Yeah. The slightly rounded bezel profile of like the kind of, it's almost like a beads of rice shape in the bezel really gives it kind of a feminine edge. And
that was what there was on the original Navitimers, I heard. Yeah. So they kind of bring it back, but also it works well in a smaller size.
It's a nice vintage cue, but I think, not saying that a man couldn't pull it off or couldn't wear it, but I can really see why they would have aimed it towards the ladies' market, and it kind of shows why certain watch designs can be tailored towards different genders, like disregarding size. Yeah. So, you know, even though that's a bigger watch than I would normally wear every day, that could still be a lady's watch. And even smaller watches could be more masculine. It's all down to the design, I think, which is something that people don't necessarily take into account when they kind of define man's watch or lady's watch. It's like a man's watch is 38mm plus, a lady's watch is 36mm and under or something. It's very different when you start to take in certain design elements.
The design plays a part as well. Yeah, definitely. I think Breitling received a lot of press this year, obviously with new CEO and stuff, you know, new releases. There was a big focus on the vintage models, which I think, again, was a lot in the press. But the famous fish tank is gone. You noticed that, so it's all gone now. So they kind of have B-roll clips of like vintage watches, and it was all vintage themed and vintage planes and that sort of stuff. So it's cool. It's exciting to see, you know, little hints at you know, things to come, really. So.
Yeah, George's Kerr mentioned that he wants to focus on their heritage and look more into the vintage models, and I don't think it's just about re-releasing vintage models because they've run out of ideas or something, but I think, you know, there's genuinely a history to play in, and it's like similarly how we talked about with Laco, for them to kind of define what they are and take it in a direction that's not just keep releasing 45mm pilot watches is quite nice, and there is a lot of genuine interesting history there that they can play on, and when they take it as inspiration rather than like a defined design, so they can still create new things inspired by the past, and it just keeps being interesting essentially.
It's also quite a reassuring product, or maybe not reassuring, but it's like a safe product in a way to make. You know, you've got a long line of history, you can create a new watch but have inspirations from the past, and
they've already got all the
people
DNA.
will go crazy for it.
They've spent the last God knows how long building that DNA, so all they need to do is stick with it and keep ensuring that the designs are strong and listening to the market, I think.
It's also quite nice to see as well that our predictions in the video before we made, I think we talked specifically about the 38mm Navitimer a few weeks ago, so it's quite nice to see that did actually happen.
I think I'd still like to see it in the chronograph form. Maybe something a bit more masculine, more defined angles in the chronograph. In 38, that would be quite cool, and would tailor towards more like the vintage market, I think. Okay, so next up we went to visit AkriviA. So they are a small independent brand that are based out of Switzerland. So they are actually two brothers that are both watchmakers, who I think both had an apprenticeship at Patek Philippe, if I'm correct. And this year they have a new watch out, which is still under AkriviA, but they call it the Rexhepi, which is also the name of the owner and one of the watchmakers, one of the brothers of the brand. So there's been a lot of coverage of this watch online. since it's basically a standard 3-hand dress watch, like 2 hands hour a minute and then the sub-seconds. But it's quite a special movement inside, being that they are both incredible watchmakers and the passion that they put into their work is quite exceeding. So this movement is 100 hours of power reserve, and it's got a stop reset function for the seconds. So when you pull the crown out to set the time, the seconds flies back to 60. So you're able to set the time accurately to whatever you're setting it to.
Yeah.
So when we saw this watch, honestly, it was really, really outstanding, and which I think is probably the strongest release of Baselworld 2018
It's one of the best watches I think we saw.
Yeah. So the design is just perfectly executed, with the proportions being quite perfect for a dress watch. So
it's 38
mil, yeah.
Yeah.
But it wears, I think, as a 38 or maybe slightly smaller.
I would say
in the 37 range, because the lugs and the whole profile is quite slim and just very classy overall. It's not very brash, it's quite understated in
I think
design
the dial
as well.
design as well. The dial design is a little bit just brought in, isn't it?
Yeah,
so it helps it wear smaller.
It's quite a unique looking watch, and for a watch that has such a insane caliber behind it, even the case was stealing the show as well. Like that, from every angle, this watch was just incredible. Did you have any thoughts?
It was just ridiculous. I didn't realise what I was looking at until probably towards the end of the meeting, and I was like, "This is incredible."
Yeah.
But yeah, as Ben mentioned, the case is kind of one of those watches that you can wear every day, and every day you see something a little bit different, whether it be the dial, whether it be the case from the side, the case from the front, the display case back. There's just too much to look at. You pull out the crown and the second-hand reset and stuff. It's a watch enthusiast watch, I'd say, and you can tell that from the passion the guys behind it. It is just, it's meeting them in person is incredible. Really, you can tell that they're good at what they do, they love what they do, and they do it for the right reasons as well. That's the main thing, I think.
Yeah.
They just want to make a good watch, and they have done. They made an incredible watch. So
yeah, from all the angles and curves, the perfect proportions, all the hidden details, and then obviously the insane caliber behind it, which has quite an interesting movement architecture where it's quite symmetrical, quite not geometric, but there's a whole shape and a concept behind it, which works really well, and it's just such a classic watch. Instantly it looks like this thing could have been designed hundreds of years ago.
Yeah.
So they've done a really good job with that one.
What was your favourite dial colour?
Definitely the black dial, I think.
Yeah.
The red gold case with the rose gold leaf printing on the dial, so even the printing on the dial really played with the light, and compared to the Grand View enamel dial, the black behind it, just the contrast, it was very warm and just
No, I normally like black dials, and I did on this one. I mean, there's no change at all. It's just ridiculous. It's probably one of the favourite watches I saw this year, definitely. Yeah. And it's only day one, so what can we expect from day two? It's going to be ridiculous.
No, a very good release.
Yeah.
I think the red gold version as well really helps bring out the gold in the movements, like the actual balance wheel and all the other gold pieces. Really brings through the warmth and just pops the colour out really nicely.
We could talk about this fabric, couldn't we?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yep. Moving on.
Okay, so next up we went to go see Oris, which there were a few releases I was looking forward to seeing from Oris. One being the Big Crown Pointer Date, which they released in, I think it was two different, I think it was 36mm and 40mm, and they've also done it in quite a few dial colours, and there is also a bronze version as well. So I think there's a brown dial, there's a blue one, there's a green one. What else? Is that it?
I think that's it.
Yeah, okay. And obviously the green dial was with the bronze case as well.
Yeah.
So I was pretty impressed by these. I mean, I was a fan of the model originally. I think it was just a black dial with a stainless steel case before.
Oh, right.
And I just think it looked really cool. I think, I don't know, there was just something about the watch. I think it is quite classic aviation.
Yeah.
And the blue is probably one of my favourites. I think blue looks great on most watches. But it worked really well. 40mm as well, I thought, before I read a few articles and I thought the 40mm, okay, that was probably a little bit too big. But it just wears really well, it looks really cool. I don't know, do you have any thoughts on those?
Yeah, so I hadn't seen the watch much before going to Baselworld, but must say I'm quite a big fan of the brown dial since I've seen it. So from the first pictures I saw, I didn't think it was too special or too much of my thing. But after seeing it, I think it's really well executed in design. The fact that it really crosses over some vintage elements and some modern elements, and you can really almost say that it's not a modern watch, but it's not really a vintage watch in design. It's a vintage inspired watch. It's kind of inspired by their history or the history of some aviation watches, but brought into a modern life quite well. So yeah, that was good. I think the brown had a really nice warmth to it, and even though it was quite subtle, it just adds a bit more interest to the dial and really makes it pop.
Yeah, I think it was a great release.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the Aquis date with the new green dial?
Yeah, so we saw the new green Aquis, which was one I was quite eager to see. I'm quite a big fan of the Rolex Hulk, and this one's quite similar.
Yeah, in person the dial is, yeah.
In colour and stuff, but we only got to see the 43mm version, which it does wear quite small for 43, but I still think it's slightly too big for my wrist. So I'd like
you're
to see
used to your Datejust, aren't you, at 36? Yeah. So for me, I'm mainly used to wearing 40mm, and that I think it was actually 43.5, but doesn't wear like a 43 at all. No. I would have said maybe 41mm on the wrist. Yeah. But it just wears really well. So I was pleasantly surprised by that actually. Yeah. I was quite happy that it just wore pretty well. Yeah,
I think the integrated bracelet into the lugs it works really well, and for a watch of that price it's quite unique. There aren't really many other watches that have such a solid design behind it and really nice integration between the strap and the case. Yeah. So I think as far as value offering goes, it's really nice. The green gives it another look. It's quite premium in colour, and just it really shines through of being able to compete with watches that are maybe £1,000 or more above. So
well, there's a hot competition that sort of price range, and I think after seeing one now in the flesh, trying on the wrist, I can see why the Aquis Date is as popular as it is. Yeah, definitely. I've heard a lot about it, so good release.
Yep.
Okay, so final meeting of the day was with Longines. The main watch that Yumi really wanted to see was the Longines military watch, which there's not a lot of press and talk about this watch. We've seen a few articles and stuff, but not a lot of word from Longines themselves. And so much so that when we kind of first arrived, we didn't really see it out on the stand, and we were a bit concerned, where is it? Because we really wanted to see it. Yeah. But after talking to the brand, we realised that you essentially had to request to see it, pretty much. So yeah, we got the watch in hand, took a nice few ombre shots. I'm glad to report that it looks as good, if not better, in real life than it does in pictures. Much like with Laco, it just looks like an original model, really, doesn't it? With just a really good case. It's been preserved really well.
It's like a new old stock watch.
Yeah, that's probably quite a good way of summing it up. Yeah. It's a 38mm, I think maybe 38mm and a half, something like that. Yeah. And I would say it probably wears like that. I didn't think it was any bigger, any smaller.
Its strength was the way it wears on the wrist. I think the proportions were just really excellently executed. Like when you hold it in your hand, you think, wow, that's a really nice watch. But when you strap it on your wrist, you're like, wow, that's a really nice watch. Yeah.
I remember as I was sort of had it on the wrist, and I was like, oh, I could just walk away, and it just looks so good. Like it just fits the wrist so well. So I'm really happy we got to see that one. I think it's a really cool watch. It should be available later on in the year, and I think I saw it is about 2,000 Swiss franc. So similar price range to Laco. Oris, they're around there as well. All three companies had really strong releases. Yeah. I think for me though, that would be the one that I would go out of my way to go and see again once it's in retailers, and certainly consider it because it's really cool.
Just think that's 100% the direction that we wanted to see personally, and I think that a lot of the vintage watch enthusiasts and a lot of the watch community wanted to see going forward. And the vintage watch trend obviously has been massive the last few years, but I think now the brands are realising kind of what makes up that vintage watch trend as far as design execution and sizing, proportions, etc. It's just really, really well executed, and I think for that money, again, like the Laco offerings, it's just really quite unique and special and something different that maybe some of the larger brands aren't able to or choose not to kind of make accessible at that price range, which it's nice to see.
Yeah, I mean, and Longines have got the benefit of, they've got obviously their long line of history.
Yeah.
But the guy from Longines was telling us that if you've got like a vintage model, you can contact them, and for free of charge they'll let you know like its history and you know where it's been, where it was sold. And also the benefit of that is they've got this huge archive that if they ever want to, you know, make amazing watches like they have done this year, it's all there. They know all the sizes, they know the movement, they know everything about it.
Not short of inspiration.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, a great release from one of my favourite brands. So
yeah, I do think though, one negative. I think it should have been manual wind.
Yeah.
Just
I
from
agree with that.
a character standpoint, I know I've seen some people mention that if it was manual wind, it might reduce some case thickness and maybe some proportions wouldn't be as good. But if the case thickness needed to be that thick, they could make the case back thicker, or they could just, you know, leave a little bit of gap between the edge of the movement. But I think, you know, having it automatic was probably smarter for like a business decision of making it more accessible to some
wider market as well.
Wider market, yeah. But from a, you know, vintage watch enthusiast point of view, the manual wind would really just bring in that character and make it a lot more true to what it's trying to be.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But no, overall, great release.
Yeah, really good release.
Okay, so that's the end of Baselworld Day 1 for us. It's been a pretty long day. I think we're both starting to feel it now.
Yeah,
getting pretty tired. But we're both looking forward to getting back out there again tomorrow. There's still plenty more watches for us to see. So stay tuned to the channel. We'll be uploading, hopefully, next few days, next footage.
Yeah, and we hope you enjoyed this. It's been a lot of work to try and get it out in this time, but it's been really fun, and we hope to see you soon for the next video.
Yeah, so we'll see you tomorrow.